As the Raiders continue to operate as a serious organization, we take a peek behind the scenes when it comes to a couple FCS players they selected in the draft. That plus more on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for April 29th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome here, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. The show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good by way of the YouTube page. So big ups to Ari. We shout him out. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. I'm on Twitter as well, at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, as plenty of you do, trust and believe that, we've got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. We'll try to close out the show with as many calls and texts as possible. I know I won't get to all of them, but I'll try to hustle through as much as possible. Probably, a handful. I probably got about 10 or 12 lined up. I know I won't get them all, but like I said, I'll try to hustle through as many as possible. Segment number 2, going to take a deep dive into the FCS players that the Raiders were able to select in the 6th round. Kevin Marshall, FCS Nation Radio, he joined my radio show on Monday, Raider Nation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness, to talk about Tommy Mellott and also Cam Miller. He joined me last year to talk about Dylan Lobby, so I was really blessed to have that opportunity. So you'll hear the conversation, all things FCS players, the 6th round picks, Tommy Mellott, Cam Miller, what they bring to the table. We'll do that coming up in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, just news and notes of the day. We'll jump into that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, and that's Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. You can turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. All you got to do is head over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn about more. And off top, I'll tell you this, man. Really a blessing to be able to do a podcast, talk about the Raiders draft, do a radio show, talk about the Raiders draft, just have a general conversation about the Raiders draft and not a bunch of WTFs or what the hell was that or why would they select that guy or who is that guy, right? And we've had all those scenarios thrown our way in just the short amount of time that I've been doing this podcast. Started doing this podcast back when the draft got going for the Raiders in 2018, when John Gruden returned, John Gruden 2.0, right after Jack Del Rio had basically fired himself. He got fired after the 2017 season, and he went to the podium and said he won't be back. When John Gruden took over for the second time is when I took over this podcast. And I'll tell you, more times than not, when it comes to the draft, we're always scratching our heads wondering what in the world, what happened, what went on, why would they make that selection? This time, after looking at the 11 players that the Raiders selected, after going into the draft with only 9 draft selections, turning that bad boy into 11, a lot of positivity when it comes to the silver and black. Here's a nugget that I didn't catch that the Raiders PR actually tweeted out following the draft. I thought this was pretty interesting. The Raiders finished the 2025 NFL draft with 11 selections. That's the most by the Raiders in a single draft since 2007. Since the NFL draft was reduced to 7 rounds in 1994, the Raiders have finished with 11 selections only twice, 2007 and 2025. We talked about unserious, we talked about serious, and we talked about for entertainment purposes only. Those are the 3 categories that NFL teams reside in. And for a long time, the Raiders resided in the unserious, right? They made a lot of decisions where they were trying to hope that they can get things jump-started, get this team going, and it just didn't work, right? For one reason or the other, they would hire guys that, okay, this is going to be the guy. I've thought that this is going to be the guy, and it didn't work out. This time, it seems like they've taken a much different approach from every decision that they've made since, Tom Brady's been involved, Pete Carroll's been involved, John Spytek's been involved. It just seems like the Raiders are making a lot of really good decisions. Ultimately, we'll know the end result when we see them on the field, and wins and losses are all that's going to matter. But it does feel like they've transitioned from being an unserious team to a serious team. When you look at this draft class, when we talked about it being a lot of starters and not stars, the Raiders operated like that, being able to be patient, being able to trade back, collect a couple extra picks, and come away with guys that they feel like could have immediate impact, could also compete for really good jobs on this squad. And all of a sudden, it feels like this roster could quickly be turned around, right? When you get 11 draft picks, a lot of the young dudes that you feel like can contribute, these guys are all going to feel like they can contribute right away. All of them won't, but they still have the opportunity to push the guys in front of them. So again, I just think that it's a really good move by this team. I did want to pass along this information that I received about rookie minicamp invites. There's going to be a lot of these. There's probably more out there than I even know, but this came from Justin Mellott from the Draft Network and also Jordan Schultz from Fox on NFL. He actually sent me a text message about it as well. The Raiders are inviting former Utah football wide receiver Dorian Singers II to minicamp. Singer was denied an additional year of college football eligibility by the NCAA the morning of his pro day. Hurt his chances, former 1,000-yard receiver at Arizona. So the Raiders have invited him to rookie minicamp. They also invited former TCU offensive lineman Bless Harris to rookie minicamp. That's also from Justin Mellott. So just a couple of players to pay attention to. Again, they'll have invites out there. Hajj Malik Williams, the quarterback from UNLV, there's conflicting reports if he was just an invite or if they signed him. None of that's been confirmed yet. And the undrafted free agents that I rattled off on Monday, I think it was 16 or 17 different guys. Matter of fact, I got them over there, about 16 or 17 different guys. They haven't confirmed that they be in the team either. So that's kind of based off what we're learning by way of social media, what's out there, what the agents for these players are putting out there, what the programs, the colleges for these players are putting out there. So we're just kind of picking that up as we go. Speaking of that, Ole Miss put out a little image or whatever on social media saying that Ole Miss offensive lineman Jeremy James is signing with the Raiders. So that's another name to add to the mix of undrafted free agents that is in the mix with the silver and black. Just another young guy added to the depth and a guy that's going to be able to go out there and compete. It's also great when you turn on the radio, you turn on TV, and they're doing a whole NFL draft kind of recap, and they're talking glowingly about the Raiders. Gerald McCoy, who spent some time with the Silver and Black, we know he's got a lot of respect for the team. He's part of NFL Network and their draft coverage. He was on the show he was asked a question about who he thinks had the best draft, and, well, he tipped his cap to the Silver and Black.
If I'm going with a team, I'm going to go with the team I went with yesterday, and I'm going to stick with it today. I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying the Las Vegas Raiders is because of the head coach and the GM.
Yep.
This is a duo made in heaven. If you think about Pete Carroll, he's been a great team builder all the way dating back to USC. Mm-hmm. It's a Super Bowl winning coach. But John Spytek, I was with him in Tampa.
Yep.
And he was under Jason Light. He knows how to build a team, and they addressed everything necessary. They were last in the run. So what did they do? They went out and got the best running back in the draft in Ashton Genty. What did they do next? They went out and got a wide receiver, a big physical wide receiver. DJ said this is the most physical wide receiver in the draft. Why does that matter? Because you need wide receivers that can not only get open, but if you want to run the ball, your wide receivers have to do what, Steve? They have to block, okay? They go out and get 2 offensive linemen to shore up that offensive line. Want to run the ball? You need somebody that can pass. You need somebody that can block and move them. But what do you also do? You go to the other side of the line and you get 2 D tackles. One of them, J.J. Pegues.
Yeah.
I love this guy because he's super athletic. And you know what? Pete Carroll hasn't forgot what happened in that Super Bowl.
Oh, man, you brought that back up,
can also play on offense. He's a goal line threat.
Yeah.
He can be a fullback. You can hand it off to him. And if I have to pick a team that did the best in this draft, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Again, Gerald McCoy played for the Raiders for a quick minute. Unfortunately, he got injured and wasn't able to have the impact on the team that I thought he was going to have. But dude's an absolute stud. Absolute stud, and I just love the way he approached, that question about who had the best draft and why. He gave a real thorough explanation, and a lot of it has to do with John Spytek and Pete Carroll and what they bring to the table. And I referenced back to what Pete Carroll said that Friday before the week of the draft when we all went and met there at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. He said, yeah, John Spytek, this is his first time as the GM. He's making the selections here in the draft, but this dude is not a rookie. This guy is not acting like a guy who's never been there, done that, which is great because the Raiders went from having, Reggie McKenzie, then John Gruden came in, then he hired Mike Mayock, then they went to Dave Ziegler, then Tom Telesco. There was no real, experience at that. Even Reggie McKenzie didn't have experience being the GM when they hired him. Mike Mayock, we know, didn't have any experience. He was a GM on TV. Dave Ziegler didn't have any, experience as a GM. Tom Telesco last year did, but he was one and done and really was collateral damage when they started making all the changes in the organization. And now you bring in John Spytek, who was Jason Licht's right-hand man and really learned a lot there in Tampa Bay. And you see how it played out in the draft. Again, 11 players I thought they did really good job with. So before I get to segment number 2, I did want to pass this along. Thought this was pretty interesting. Top 10 rookie jersey sales so far. Remember, It's only Tuesday, right? The draft just got wrapped up on Saturday. But as of right now, the top 10 best-selling jerseys from the 2025 NFL draft, and this is put out by the NFL. Number 1, Travis Hunter with the Jaguars. Number 2, Cam Ward with the Titans. Number 3, Shedeur Sanders with the Browns. Number 4, Ashton Jeanty with the Raiders. Teteroa McMillan's at number 5 with the Panthers. Number 6 is Jackson Dart. He was with the New York Giants. Abdul Carter, number 7 with the Giants. Matthew Golden, number 8 with the Green Bay Packers. Tyler Warren, with the Colts at number 9. And Colston Loveland, number 10 with the Chicago Bears. So that's the top 10 right now best-selling jerseys from the 2025 NFL Draft. I had someone on my radio show call me and ask me, hey, what number is Ashton Jeanty going to be? Is he going to be 2? That's Daniel Carlson's number. I said, I don't know. I don't know what that conversation's like. I don't know if he wants to be number 2, whatever the case is going to be. I don't know. Daniel Carlson has been Cash Money Carlson. He's earned that number 2. I don't know if they're going to make some kind of switch. I really don't. But the one thing I did say is I encourage nobody to buy a Raiders jersey yet, a rookie jersey yet, until everything is over. Training camp, preseason, 53-man roster is set, and then even wait a few days after that, because there's going to be some releases. There'll be some changes. There'll be, players that have certain numbers that will no longer be with the team, and then there'll be some changes at the last second. So I encourage everyone, if you're going to go buy a Raiders jersey, not that I don't want Ashton Jeanty to get the number 1 top-selling rookie jersey, I would just say slow your roll until you knew exactly what number he's going to have, because things could always change. I've seen it change many times with rookies coming in. So that's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Coming up in segment number 2, get to know the FCS guys that the Raiders selected in round 6. Talking about Tommy Mellott and Cam Miller. That's coming up next on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of the great sponsors here on the show, and that's Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You can check out Monarch Money and you'll realize how much you spend on food delivery, right? That's pretty out of control. When I was in Green Bay, had some food delivery, realize how expensive that can be. You can budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So what do you have to do? Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word, LOCKEDON NFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to go and do a deep dive on all the players the Raiders drafted. We're going to go through all the players that were undrafted free agents. Like, we're going to have a big to-do each and every day. Sometimes there'll be multiple players talked about. Sometimes we'll just feature one player. Whatever the case may be, we're going to do a deep dive so we all get to know these players really, really well. I don't expect everyone to have a deep knowledge on all these players that the Raiders selected. Hell, I don't have a deep knowledge on all the players. There's a lot of them that I'm very familiar with, but at the same time, I wouldn't be lying to you if I acted like I knew every single player. So somehow, some way, whether it's a Locked On guy, we'll have him on the show. Whether it's someone on my radio show, combination of the two, we'll have him on the show so we all understand who the Raiders have in the mix and they're trying to build moving forward with. So today we're going to focus on the FCS guys. Kevin Marshall, FCS Nation Radio, joined my radio show on Monday, and he hit me up over the weekend when he saw the Raiders selected 2 FCS guys. I was like, Q, I'd love to come on your radio show on Monday to talk about them. Done deal. He joined me last year to talk about Dylan Lobby, so I thought, no problem, let's do it. Anyone knows these FCS guys, it's going to be Kevin. So before we get to the conversation I had with Kevin, I did get a text from Raider Nation Mason. He said, what up, Q? It's Raider Nation Mason out of the Big Sky Country, also known as Tommy Mellott's home state. I'm absolutely ecstatic with pick 213 in the draft, and let me tell you why. I grew up just a couple towns over from Touchdown Tommy, and he made Montana State great. He took them to 2 FCS championships and 4 SCS playoffs appearances. He is one of the most athletic players in this draft, period. 6 foot, 207, runs a 4.3 40, and in 2024 threw for 2,783 yards, 31 touchdowns with only 2 picks. while he also ran for 1,050 yards and 15 touchdowns. We drafted him as a wide receiver, but I can't stop thinking about him being our version of Taysom Hill. He can do anything and everything: kick return, run, catch, throw. My dream scenario is that Chip likes to use him in a goal line set and makes defenses choose between stopping him or Ashton Genty on the ground. Let me tell you, I'm ecstatic, Q. Anyway, sorry I took so long here, but I'm so excited. Have a good one. Raider Nation Mason out. Fantastic text that led right into the conversation that I had with Kevin Marshall from FCS Nation Radio on my radio show Unnecessary Roughness on Monday. And we started off talking about Tommy Mellott and what he brings to the table, especially since the Raiders designated him as a wide receiver when they selected him at pick 213. What does Mellott bring to the table, and especially him being designated as a wide receiver? Well, what do you make of that designation by the Raiders?
That's smart. Tommy Mellott is just a kid who there's not a thing on a football field he can't do or isn't willing to do. I mean, this kid's from Butte, Montana, right? And there's something different about the kids from Butte and people from Butte. If you're ever in a bar and you're running your mouth kind of reckless and a guy says, well, I'm from Butte, Montana, you're best to just go on and walk outside, get in your car, and go home because you're going to catch a butt whooping, Q. All right? This is something about Butte that's different. I mean, the guy that shot Osama bin Laden in the face is from Butte, Montana. So how about that?
There you go.
So,
fun fact.
But Tommy Mellott is a kid who returned punts early in his career for the Bobcats. He can do that and excel at that. But he's got a lot of the measurables, man. I mean, when you run a 4.39 in the 40, you heard that right, a 4.39 in the 40. And his 41-inch vertical, both of those would have been the best of any quarterback at the combine this year, right? So he's a quarterback, but he's going to be able to play wide receiver. You're going to be able to do some gadget things with him. I mean, all we did last year was throw 31 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, right? Wow. So pretty darn accurate. And was very comfortable running the ball. You get him the ball in space, good things are going to happen. And Cam Miller, he's a story. Both these kids are stories about why I love to cover FCS football, Q. First of all, every FCS kid's got a chip on his shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. And I like that. That leads to some really interesting storylines. But Cam Miller, national championship for North Dakota State. But earlier in his career, even the fans were like, this kid isn't our guy. He's not our guy. So they brought in a whole bunch of FBS transfers, and he didn't leave because it was hard. He stuck around, and he beat every single one of those guys out every season. You got to respect that. Both of these kids could have got a bag somewhere else before the start of last season, but they valued their loyalty, and they valued the people that saw talent in them, signed them, developed them, and made them into the football players they are today. And that's what you're going to get from most FCS guys, and these two guys in particular.
When it comes to Cam Miller, he was able to not only throw for a lot of touchdowns and get it done with his arm, but he's also very good with his legs. What is it about him that makes him so versatile?
He's got the foot speed, the straight line ahead speed. He's got that. But he also has a little shimmy, shaw, shimmy, shake in him, Q. I mean, he's not just going to run that thing straight. Mm-hmm. And, as a passer, look, this kid, the difference between him now and 2 years ago is night and day. I just feel like he's just scratched the surface of what he's capable of. He's a fella that in this league now, if you can keep a guy on the practice squad for a year and not have to move him around or other teams don't want him, if you can keep Cam Miller in that camp and on that squad, that could pay huge dividends for you 2-3 years down the road. I feel like he's just scratched the surface of what he's capable of on the football field.
Kevin Marshall, FCS Nation Radio, is with us here talking all things Tommy Mellott and Cam Miller, both 2 6th-round picks that the Raiders selected. So how quickly do you think these guys, their work ethic, what they're all about, how quickly can they adjust to the NFL game?
I think Tommy Mellott's going to see the field a lot this year. I really do. All that kid does is know how to win football games. Raiders fans are going to love him. He's a humble kid, a Butte, Montana kid, like I said, tough as nails. He's willing to do anything you ask him to do. And you'd be crazy not to have a couple of plays, at least you show him in the preseason or early on in the season where you have him throw the ball out of the backfield from an H-back position or something. At least you're going to have to make other teams prepare for that. And as a runner, put him in the slot, and you got a good shot to see Edelman again, who was a converted quarterback, right? And so he has a very good shot to see the field this year, I think. And, man, the preseason is going to be super fun because in FCS circles, if Cam Miller throws a pass to Tommy Mellott, that's going to break our internet, man. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Nothing wrong with that. I look forward to that. I can't wait. Matter of fact, hey, dial that up, Chip Kelly. Dial that up. I would love to see that. How quickly, Kevin, did you realize that Mellott could play multiple positions? He wasn't just a quarterback on the FCS level, but as you mentioned, he could do anything on the football field. How quickly was that evident to you?
When you saw him returning punts and kicks early on, like the way that he got the starting job for the Bobcats is they had a quarterback all season. But we have the 2014 playoff in FCS football. So our playoffs have always been longer and, well, better, we think, right? Because when you're conference, you're in.
Right.
But that's for another time, Q, right? We can chop that up some other time. But he got the job starting his freshman year in the playoffs. And people were like, who is this kid? Well, they had seen him return punts, and obviously he had been practicing with the ones over in Bozeman, and they set a starter down who got them to where they are, and all Tommy Mellott did was win about 3 playoff games in a row, including knocking out the Sam Houston Bearcats, who were very highly seeded that year on the road. So you saw this kid from day one. He was special. He's a football player. He's not just a quarterback, and that was kind of the question mark about him in our circles in FCS football. Is can he be a quarterback and not just an athlete? Well, he proved he can do that. He was already an athlete, Q. He didn't need to prove that to anybody, right? Mm-hmm. So could he be a quarterback? Well, it's not going to be that hard for him, I don't think, to uncheck that box and go back to just being an athlete who can throw the ball and some gadget stuff if you need him to.
We've seen quarterbacks from North Dakota State make it into the NFL. Cam Miller comes from North Dakota State. Is he a guy that you look at, maybe he's a practice squad guy at first, learns the game, and then takes the field? How do you envision Cam Miller?
He's way more experienced than Trey Lance was coming out of NDSU.
There you go.
Of course, you had that COVID deal that hurt Lance. Mm-hmm. And Carson Wentz, I mean, people can say what they like to about how his career went from after that. But if he doesn't tear his ACL late in that season of his, he probably wins the MVP, right?
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
And so that school prepares you to play Sunday football. And Cam Miller comes out of there as prepared as anybody in DSU has put in this league ever. So what's he going to need to do? Speed of the game. Speed of the game. Everybody's great. Mm-hmm. But if you can hold on to him and you can develop him, you're going to have something really special with Cam Miller, I think.
33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't care where you're playing at. That is not easy to do, right? Only 4 interceptions is very impressive. What is it about his accuracy? Why is he so able to protect the ball while still having explosive numbers and touchdown passes?
He throws guys open, but he also throws it to where only his guys can catch the ball. And he doesn't get rattled. I mean, he didn't get rattled going in there to Colorado this year with all the hype that team had and the quarterback on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And you ask most people, now I'm a little biased because I'm FCS through and through, but there were a lot of people, most people who thought Shedeur Sanders wasn't the best quarterback on the field that day. Cam Miller was.
I remember that game. Matter of fact, I remember hearing that conversation, didn't know that it was going to come full circle and that Cam Miller was going to end up being a Raider when it was all said and done. So it sounds like that the Raiders got a couple good dudes, from the FCS level. Obviously, they had Dylan Lobby last year. He didn't get too much burn, but expect for him to bounce back this year. What is it? I mean, you mentioned all FCS guys have chips on the shoulder. What is it about these guys that, they're just built a little different, Kevin? They're just able to get into the league and find their way.
Look, they all want to play at the big state school in their state, right? Mm-hmm. Or at an SEC team or ACC or Pac-2 or, whatever the big conferences are now. And they're told you're not quite good enough. You're not quite good enough. You're a step slow. Well, I think the best story I ever heard, Q, was when the Citadel, my team, beat South Carolina in football one time. Guy had a punt return 85 yards, and he didn't get in for a touchdown. And he wanted to be a Gamecock. His dad played for the Gamecocks. He wanted to play for them. And they told him he was a step slow. So this cat said, I guess I am a step slow. We took it 85 yards and got tackled at the 1 yard line. That's FCS football, dude. All right. All these kids want to be on that level. That's why, there's so much that goes into when they play the FBS teams. You can make a lot of money if you're a skill position guy or a lineman or anybody on an FCS squad. When you have that opportunity on the big stage with your FBS game, you go off, people going to notice. And so that chip on the shoulder, that being told you're not quite good enough, well, people told Tommy Mellott that. They told Cam Miller that. Well, look where they're going to be. They're going to be in the Raiders camp while a lot of them people who people thought were better than them, well, they're going to be on LinkedIn, brother.
I love it. I love it. Great stuff. Kevin Marshall, FCS Nation Radio, is with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. So we'll wrap up with this. As far as just these two guys in particular, how cool was it that they played against each other in the championship game? Now they're both on the same team.
That's awesome, man. But like I said, you got Bobcats and you got Bison. Mm-hmm. And, those two teams, they battled it out. It was a hell of a game down there in Frisco, Texas. And the championship game moves to Nashville this year. I really wish that Vegas would get in on this thing a little bit, man. Yeah. That'd be really cool to come there. But, two really good programs, well coached, have a lot of players. They're the biggest thing in their area. So, just two really good guys, two really good players. I'm excited to see what the future holds for both of them.
So Raider Nation Mason and all of Raider Nation, hopefully you enjoyed that conversation that got to let you know a little bit more about these guys, Tommy Mellott and also Cam Miller. Cam Miller sounds like he's going to be a developmental quarterback. Obviously, the Raiders have Geno Smith, they have Aiden O'Connell, and now they have Cam Miller. The one thing I'll say is that they have guys that have a little bit more mobility, right? The one guy who doesn't have much mobility is Aiden O'Connell. Does that mean that he's out? No. Not at all. I'm just pointing out what I'm pointing out, right? You got Geno Smith, who's got a little bit of wiggle to him. You've got Tommy Mellott, if he went to go in there as the quarterback. You got Cam Miller. He can use his legs as well. And even Haj Malik Williams, from UNLV, he's got a little wiggle to his game as well. Is it fantastic? No. Nobody is like just some great athlete, but at the same time, they can get out of harm's way. They can make some things happen with their legs. And Tommy Mellott and Cam Miller, those guys do have, some real deal athleticism, so they can really get after it. But I thought that was a really good conversation. Again, we'll deep dive. We'll go into all these different players that the Raiders have selected. Jack Besh, I got something really good coming from him or for him. Marty Smith from ESPN did a great profile on him. I'm going to get him on my radio show. Ian Fitzsimmons from Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio. He knows them really well. I actually had a really good conversation with him on his radio show on ESPN Radio on Monday. I'm going to talk to him tonight. And also, he has the interview that he sent me. So I'm going to talk to him about Jack Besh, the wide receiver out of TCU, second-round pick. Going to talk to him about him, the deep dive in him. And then obviously I have the sound from Ian's interview that, with Jack. So just really good stuff. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and be your one-stop shop. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to cover every single one of these players like a glove. You know how we get down here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. But that's what I got for you for segment number 2 of today's show. Coming up in segment number 3, what is on your mind? Your calls and texts are next, 707-654-4693. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor here on the show, and that is FanDuel. With the NBA playoffs here, FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel, you can place your first $5 bet. You'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So if you decided that, Miami Heat were going to get swept in the last game, they were going to get blasted, then that would have been a good winner, right? FanDuel makes betting easy. You can pick your favorite team. You can dive into player props, three-pointer steals, assists, whatever the case may be. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. One of the bets that I made, and we did this on Joe and Q on ESPN Radio. We were going up against Unsportsmanlike. It was really fun. I made the bet. It was a parlay that we put together. My part of the parlay was the Cleveland Cavaliers over 22.5 total three-pointers for the game. This wasn't for Game 4, but it was for Game 3. And they soared right over it. So my part of the parlay actually hit. You could do stuff like that as well. And after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win really big. So right now, don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com, claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and text draft that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with a call from Barry from Baltimore, calling to talk about the Raiders draft, how he feels it will impact the team moving forward, something we talked about on Monday's show. Here's Barry from Baltimore.
What up, Q? This is Barry from Baltimore. Just wanted to call in with a couple quick thoughts on the draft since it's all done and wrapped up. I'm sure you are. I'm glad it's over with. Now we can talk about the players that are on the Raiders, not the ones we think will be. First off, we'll start with Genty. Love the pick. That's who I wanted. I also get the concerns of people saying taking a running back in the first round, value and all that, how you build a team. I get all that. Normally I'm on board with that. But this is the pick that the Raiders needed, the Raider Nation needed. We needed that shot in the arm. We needed that excitement. To be able to watch that, something to talk about, something to look forward to, something to watch. So I love it. I was nervous when the Jags traded. I thought the Browns were going to take him. I thought the Jags were going to take him. Luckily neither did. Once I saw, the Browns pick Graham, I was like, oh, here we go. I was praying the Raiders didn't pass on him. Besides that, I love the receiver, Jack Betch. I love his story. I love how he plays, his background. And then with the other players, you can tell there's a kind of theme. They all love football, just from different things I've read. And it's a change. I know it's early. No one knows what's going to happen, but it's nice to actually read some things that they're really giving the Raiders some respect. And shout out to Spytek, the way he moved up and down on the board, got those extra picks. We don't know if they're going to work out or not, but I love how he got extra picks because it helps fill needs that this team needed. We don't see it. We never saw a lot of, our former GMs moving down and getting those extra picks and working the board. And we'll see how it works out, but I like the style. So I'm very impressed about the draft class. We'll see how they work out. I'm interested in some of those lower end picks like a Cam Miller and that Tommy Mellott dude if he turns into a receiver. What they could develop with Cam Miller. It's pretty exciting. I'm just pumped up about it. We'll see how it turns out, but, I can't complain about it. I didn't know too much about the other guys, but just reading up on them and what people post. And I can't wait till, when you get more depth and go over all these players. And I know how you do, and you get these, other writers coming in, talking about them that cover them from the college season. So I just can't wait. It's a good time. But I'm pumped about it. We'll see how it turns out. But I just want to call my thoughts. I'm out. Go Raiders.
Big Barry, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And definitely think the Raiders did some really good things. It's a draft that had me fired up by what was accomplished and the way it was accomplished. Very patient, but as a matter of fact, at the same time, and I thought they did a great job. Of course, the wall-to-wall coverage of all these guys, as you already heard, are going to happen over the next few weeks. We'll give you everything that you need to know moving forward and then some. You know me too well. Barry, thanks so much for that call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Romo Raider in the 602. He says, hey, Q. Romo Raider from the 602 here. First-time caller, texter, long-time listener. Want to start by giving you your flowers, big dog, but listening to you since you did your things. You were in Texas holding it down for the nation. I just want to get your input on realistically, what do you think our win total could be with this new vamped offense? Are we happy with Chip Kelly, and do you really think Patrick Graham is the answer for this middle-of-the-pack, bottom-tier defense we've had for so long? Thanks for your time. Love on your family, and go Raiders. That's Romo Raider in the 602. And, I think Chip Kelly is going to do some good things with the offense. I think the one thing that we know about Chip Kelly is that he has an innovative offense, right? I think he has a very creative offense. I don't say that he's a really good head coach. We saw what he did in Philadelphia. Even though he won 10 games, he had a very talented roster. I think that he's going to be a really sharp offensive coordinator. You saw what he did at Ohio State. I think that he understands what his players can do and how to maximize them. So I'm excited about what the offense could look like. I'm excited about Jack Betch. I'm excited about Thornton, the speedster, right? The fourth-round pick that's 6'5" and runs a 4.3, and he doesn't have to do a whole lot. He doesn't have to know the whole route tree. He just needs to spread the field. I like what, or stretch the field. I like what Ashton Genty is going to bring to the table. Obviously, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. There's a lot to like about this Raiders offense, and Geno is competent enough to go out there and play really well and win some games. So I think that that's going to work really well. Is Patrick Graham going to have the tools he's going to need to put this defense together? We'll find out. We know the defensive line is stout. We know that the secondary has some questions, but they've not only drafted cornerbacks, but they also signed a lot of cornerbacks that were undrafted free agents. So clearly there's a certain vision and a look that they want for that secondary room. So yeah, I do think that this defense is going to be good. I think this team is going to be good. It's hard to determine how many wins they're going to have, but they only had 4 in 2024. So I feel very confident saying they're going to do a lot better than that. I would say that at the least they're going to be around 8 wins. I think 8 and 9. I've said it multiple times. I think that's reasonable for year one with Pete Carroll. It's not where anyone wants it to be. Everyone wants to be at double-digit wins because that gives you a really good shot to be in the playoffs. But I think 8 wins is reasonable. And if you win a couple games that maybe you're not supposed to, or maybe the team is better than we all expect, then that's a different conversation. But as we're talking at the end of April, we haven't even seen the schedule, and the schedule release will be May 14th. Of course, we'll break that down. I think 8 wins, 8 and 9 in year one with Pete Carroll, I think that's more than fair. That doubles the wins that they had in 2024. But thanks so much for that text. I definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Derek from Missouri. Big D. He's calling to talk about rookie jersey numbers. Here he is, Derek from Missouri.
Hey, Q. This is Derek from Missouri. I was wanting to know, when do you think the rookie numbers will come out? And I'm kind of confused on what Ashton Jeanty will wear. I know Daniel Carlson right now has number 2, and I don't know if Jeanty will be, or if Carlson will be able to give that up. I love Jeanty. I love the pick, and I'm so excited for this upcoming season. Thanks, Q, for all you do. And Derek from Missouri out. Thanks.
Derek, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, I said it in segment number 1. Don't buy jerseys just yet. Don't do it just yet, right? Carlson, Jeanty, right? They're both going to make the team. I don't know what they're going to do with that number 2. I don't know if Jeanty wants to rock that. I know he goes by Deuce. Carlson, Cash Money Carlson, has been number 2 for a while. He's earned that. I couldn't tell you. I don't have any idea what they're going to do, but just let's wait until the numbers come out before we go start buying jerseys, right? Just because, again, don't want you to get a jersey, get the wrong number, and then all of a sudden he switches things up. He might be a guy that they end up giving number 24 to, for all I know. I mean, I don't have any idea. So we'll find out. Maybe Daniel Carlson has another number that he's a big fan of. Or I don't know. We'll see sooner rather than later. But, yeah, don't go buy that jersey just yet, Derek. Appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Raider Matt in the OC. What's up, Q? Raider Matt from the OC. Now that the draft is over, I want to comment on how the new staff are focused on extremely athletic players. I don't want anyone thinking that they reached on guys who are just freak athletes. To me, this just shows they're extremely confident in their staff and developing the players to the highest potential. I think we have the making of a really good draft class. Check out the relative athletic score for our rookies. No data on Jeanty. Darian Porter, 9.99. Dante Thornton Jr., 9.8. Caleb Rogers, 9.35. Tommy Mellon, 9.28. Jack Besh, unofficial, 9.26. Tonka Hemingway, 8.87. Coney Lindenberg, 8.17. Charles Grant, 5.76. JJ Pequise, 4.44. And Cam Miller, no info. So there you go. That's some really good numbers that shows the athleticism for most of the guys. Tommy Mellott, that's what I meant. I knew that didn't sound right when I read that name. Tommy Mellott, not Tommy Mellon, but Tommy Mellott, the wide receiver. He was a quarterback, but wide receiver from Montana State. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, again, they are athletic. They didn't go after like a Shamar Stewart, which was, a super athletic dude that has a very high ceiling, but only had 4 career sacks in college. No production in college. Like that's not the guys they went after. They went after guys that have production. They also have they went after guys that have high ceilings as well. So that's what you get excited about. And again, I think that those selections all made a lot of sense. So yeah, there you go. Thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Got time for a couple more. This is from Tim G in Virginia. He's calling to talk about the draft and how he felt it all played out. Here he is, Tim G in Virginia.
Q, this is Tim G from Virginia. Haven't called in a while. Just wanted to chime in with my 2 cents. All I wanted to do was go through the draft, especially the first 3 rounds, and not have that WTH moment, at least for the first 3 picks anyway. And what I seen was all of the picks were pretty good. And, I'm just a fan. But when the picks make sense, that's all I can ask for. You ain't sitting there going, what? Wait, huh? And none of that was throughout the whole draft. And I really like this draft. I hope this is something to look forward to in the future. But I really like this one. So just wanted to give my 2 cents. Q, this podcast means a lot to me. I'm blind, so I'm still able to keep up, and I really love your analysis on everything. And I love all the calls that come in. Raider Nation is some pretty smart people. So I really enjoy it. Keep doing what you do. God bless you, man, and Raider Nation. Let's go.
Timmy, thanks so much for the call, my man. And yeah, really refreshing draft, right? It wasn't a draft where we had that WTF moment. These guys had a plan. They executed it. It made sense. It feels like they did a really good job. Now, obviously, we'll know what it's all like a couple of years from now when these guys, they either play really well or they don't, right? So that'll be, the proof will be in the pudding, but it feels really good. Just like I asked John Spytek and Pete Carroll, that was the last question on Friday before the draft week got going, before I left for Green Bay. Even though we won't know what this draft feels is, like the results of it for a couple of years, can you get a sense and feel that you had a real positive draft? And they said, yeah, we know what we're trying to do, and if we're able to go execute it the way we want to do it, we will have a sense that we did a really good job. But as John Spytek said, 32 teams are going to think they did a good job. They got to wait till they get out on the grass and make it official. But yeah, it feels really positive. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the show, your story, and what the show means to you. You never know what these shows mean to anyone, but hearing that from you is real positive, and really it makes you appreciate, or at least makes me appreciate what I do each and every day, knowing that, it's meaningful to you. And like I said, whenever I hear these stories, I hear a lot of them at Allegiant Stadium, at the Torch sometimes, it always means a lot. So definitely thanks for the call. Really do appreciate you. Let's close out with a text from Connor in Florida. It says, hey, Q, it's Connor from Florida again. Not to sound a little cocky, but what I say about John Spytek back in February. He practically nailed the draft by playing chess, not checkers. Snagging Ashton Genty at number 6, trading back and collecting more picks, filled in almost every hole in the team, and with the cherry on top, got us some pretty good free agents during the offseason without spending too much money. Nothing's been proven yet, but I say Spytek has done more as a first-year GM than half of the ones the Raiders have picked up over the last couple of years. I give this draft an A for now, since there's still some time for them to prove themselves. Really pleased with this draft class, and mark my words, the NFL will finally see that the silver and black ain't messing around anymore. Like the great Al Davis once said, say it with me now, Q, just win, baby. Raiders. That's Connor in Florida, having a little bit of a victory lap, and that's okay, right? I don't remember the text or the call when you said that whatever you said that John Spytek was going to do, but it clearly was positive because what he did in the draft was positive. So nothing wrong with that, right? I'm glad that you were able to chime in and give us your thoughts on what he was going to do, and it did come out really positive. Again, these guys have to go out there and prove it on the grass, but to me, it feels like the draft was really, really solid. I've been just saying a B or B plus just because, I don't just want to go all, they just had an A or an A plus or whatever. But all the reports that I've seen for the most part have all been really positive. And I figure if you get multiple B pluses or you get Bs, and you do that consistently, you do that for 4 or 5 years and you average that, you're probably going to get an A or 2 in there anyway, right? So, yeah, I just feel really positive about this Raiders draft, and I think that they did a good job. Now I can't wait to see them put it together and make this 53-man roster. That's going to be a competitive-looking thing, right? They are going to leave it all out there on the grass because all of these players all seem like they have that competitive nature in them. That's something to get excited about. So thanks for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Got a call from Chuck Raider in Austin. We'll get to tomorrow. A text from Midwest Raider. We'll do that tomorrow as well. We'll have more news and notes, and we'll do more features on these players that the Raiders drafted as well. We'll try to get Jack Besh on. He might be the guy that we get on tomorrow's show, but there's plenty of guys to look at, 11 of them to be exact, that we'll definitely focus in on. Of course, we focused in on 2 today. We'll do more coming up and get you everything you need to know with this Raiders draft class. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.